You know, when this generation started, I think Microsoft really shot themselves in the foot. They didn't know what they were doing. They came out and kind of tried to take people's, rights away from them as gamers, and it didn't really, nothing really came from that. It was something that they had to be humbled a bit, and at the end of the day, they were humbled, and I think that really says pretty much all we need to say. We actually are much, much better off now that Microsoft was indeed humbled, but one of the things that I used to crusade against, I guess, was the media bias, right? Media bias. We used to all talk about that, particularly me and the rest of the guys and things like that. But one of the things that kind of has come out of all these pro gamer, almost third-party type moves that Phil Spencer and Xbox have done is the fact that, there basically is no more media bias. I know that a lot of people like to beat that drum still, but the fact of the matter is, early on, people were angry with Xbox. The media was angry with Xbox. They viewed Xbox as trying to shape things up a little bit too much. I just feel like that was something that was happening, and I don't even know if that was bias more as along the lines of favoritism and just people just kind of being angry or whatever. But now, I think, with all the things that Microsoft does, right, and just think about this, they basically put their games everywhere. They have Game Pass. There's not really much left that you can, hate on Microsoft for per se. So we have to keep that in mind as fans as we sort of go along with this, right? There is no more of that. People are going to maybe like or dislike Xbox, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, there isn't really media hate anymore. We have to get past that. There just isn't that level of animosity towards Xbox anymore. You might see, the other day, IGN put up a poll, who wins the console war. That's not bias. That's just them being them. When when you're running a poll and people vote, PlayStation has very popular consoles, and consoles that happen to sell a lot and a lot of worldwide recognition, and there's a lot of PlayStation fans online. But this old hat that we've got to fight the good fight because Microsoft are underdogs and Xbox are underdogs. They're not underdogs. They're the empire. They're, have limitless money and ability to do whatever they want if they really wanted to, but they choose to be super friendly. I mean, the cross-play stuff, there's not really anything left to hate on, so I haven't really seen any quote-unquote Xbox media bias lately. So I think that people that are kind of beating that drum maybe are probably should take a little bit closer look and look back at the early days of Xbox One and see exactly what media bias was back then. People it was really, really bad then, the favoritism and stuff. And you have to think about this, right? A lot of the people that work at these places grew up, and maybe PlayStation was their first console or whatever. And then I also noticed, as I've started listening to, more even keel podcasts or whatever, the PlayStation fans look at, claim that there's media bias towards Nintendo. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be, especially when you're losing constantly. And I think Xbox is a fine platform, but they tend to lose a lot. They're not selling a ton of consoles. They're not putting out a ton of great content. That's a bit of a problem, and that's part of the thing where people just assume just because something's negative about Xbox that it's media bias. It's not really, though. So anyway, with this, I just like to say, let it go. Xbox is going to be fine. There is no more media bias. We can stop using that as an excuse, and let's just move on, enjoy the games, and maybe next generation is going to be better than this one. Let's hope so. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.